That's the 8th house. Those people in the 8th house are crazy. Hi, welcome to my channel. We will be covering the vast and varied topic of astrology. I will be giving you guys my insights and my own personal views on astrology. I do see astrology a little bit differently than the traditional astrology that I learned, and I think that's what's so cool and interesting about astrology, is that depending on that person's chart, who they are, where they're at, what they have learned is going to be how they take or understand the astrology, or the things they emphasize or the things they notice and pick up on. I definitely think astrology is a system where the traditional methods are really valid still, but I also think it's definitely worth noting that astrology itself is ruled by Aquarius, and Aquarius is ruled by both Saturn and Uranus. So for me, I understand that to mean once we learn the Saturn about any situation, the lessons, the tradition, the values, how it's publicly received, you know, all that kind of what it's known as already, then we can move on to the Uranian, where we start to get into innovation and understanding things in a new way, in a new light. It's not that the knowledge is made up, because I've heard some people say some stuff like, oh, some astrology things and the planet and the god that it's associated with don't make any sense. They don't have anything to do with each other. It's innovative, and it's being able to see beyond what's already been seen, being able to understand past the point that we've already been understanding it from, and that's all very much Saturn. So we're stepping into the Uranian energy over here. The true Aquarius energy is a mixture of Saturn and Aquarius, Saturn and Uranus, not just Uranus or not just Saturn. It's a mixture of both. I feel this channel in particular is a very good representation of astrology as an Aquarian means to understanding our world, our cosmos, and the energy around us. Don't let that big introduction there throw you guys off like I'm gonna get super deep. It's quite a light topic today, but it's not that light. I feel most people have had a hater or two, and then some people just get hella haters, and it's like, why are you such a hater? The people that attract the most haters and jealousy in general are probably people who have a lot of planets in the 7th house, in the 8th house. You can get stalkers with the 8th house, with the 10th house and the 12th house. Those houses are really going to bring people towards you from time to time. I'm not saying that your life's a mess, you know, but their lives are a mess, and they come towards you and start their shit, is what they do. Now, it's not just going to be every and anybody, but with this energy, you tend to attract in people whose synastry with you isn't going to always be the best. So, and it's going to be different. It's going to play out different depending on what houses you have activated. Any of these houses activation can attract people in. So if it's the 7th house, yes, the 7th house does describe our ideal lover, because it's the opposite of ourselves. And the 1st house isn't actually our physical body, it's the point of consciousness, when we become awareness and we become a being, a singular being, because before that we was part of, you know, source or the oversoul or whatever it is that you personally believe. We think the thing that would work best for us is something opposite to that, because it would be complementary, which is why the 7th house is like ideal partner, blah, 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 blah. But the 7th house is the first place where you learn to look at yourself in comparison to another, because now that's how you've formulated the idea of your ideal partner, because you're looking at another being in comparison to yourself. Like, oh, this would be really good. This would really work if this person was like this and that. So when you have a lot of 7th house, and even Libra, you know, and to a lesser degree, the sign, people are going to compare themselves to you. And they're either going to like what they see, or they're not going to like what they see. 7th house is also the house of open enemies. It's not just our ideal partnership and contracts and, you know, business partners and all that, these people will outright just not like you for no real reason, it may seem like, but they've compared themselves to you in some way, shape or form, and that is what triggers. And it could be that, you know, you're too different, why do you do things like that, you're wrong, you shouldn't be doing it in that way. Or it could be, wow, they're so different, maybe I should be more like them. Maybe they think that I should be more like them because they think they're right, I think they're right as well. And maybe, but it all amounts to the same kind of thing. Right, I don't want to say hate, like straight up hate, but more like hating, you know, being just a hater, or jealousy about some attributes that you have that they believe they may be lacking. And it's also worth noting that everybody has every sign, every house in their chart. So the idea of anybody actually lacking any of the energies or anything that you embody is a complete lie, because everybody has that, but it may not just be as active or as pronounced in their chart or in their awareness of themselves. So yes, with the 7th house, you will get people that are just constantly, it could be even be that like people feel they're in competition with you. You may not even be aware of some of the people that feel they're in competition, and you can get a vibe that this person doesn't like you, and it will be because of competition. With the 7th house, they're always going to try and compete with you. It's the house of open enemies, but not necessarily compete with you. So they want to be seen as better than you. And this may be, they want it to be seen openly that they are actually better than you at what you do, or being a human, or whatever it is that floats their boat. If you have Mars in the 7th house, you could have people that are competitive or jealous of you because of your energy and enthusiasm towards life, the motivation you have to realize your dreams, goals and ambitions, or even simply the way you kind of live your life, because Mars rules life and death, you know. They also may want to be seen as a better fighter, stronger than you, stronger than you in some way, but perhaps definitely maybe physically. And also there could be competition, you know, over your sexual partners, your competition over your sexual preference, because Mars also rules sex. It doesn't give I want that person, they should be mine. It's I know you've been with that person, now I want to be with them, and now I want to show that person actually I'm better in bed than you are. It's that kind of energy, okay? It's a weird one. It's a weird one. If it's the sun or even a Libra sun, you know, people really, I feel like Libra is one of those signs where there's a certain picture painted of them. And I know a lot of Libras. And actually, when you've got the sun in Libra, or the sun in the 7th house, just because of you as a being, your soul, what you're here to do, the way you shine, just you as a person can really irritate people. You know when they say your light irritates other people's demons? This is that kind of placement. You will find people are really in competition with you to be you, to be yourself. Like it's a weird one. It's so strange. They want to be seen as more authentic, or more bright, or more vivacious, or more, you know, more authentically you than you are. And that could also be it. They want to be seen as, you know, to show you up as a fake of some sort. It is also worth noting that the sun is in its detriment in the sign of Libra, and also kind of the 7th house. It's not really the biggest fan of the 7th house. You may find that when you have the sun in Libra, there's a lot of enemies, or the sun in the 7th house. A lot of people who start off as the business partnerships, or start off as the romantic partner, or the friendships, it's all one-on-one relationships, turn out to actually hate you, turn out to actually be competing to be you in a weird way. And again, it's got that energy of, the comparison can be that they think you're right and they need to be like you, and now that's causing anger in them, because if you're right, or your way of being is right, they must be wrong. So now they have anger and resentment towards you. Or it could be that they believe themselves to be right and you're wrong, and you need to follow their program now. So it can be very difficult being a Libra, and like I said, that's part of its detriment, because Libras can be quite accommodating to other people at the expense of their own self and their own energy, and the sun really just wants to express itself. I'm not going to go through each sign, like moon in Libra and that kind of thing, but you can get an idea of where with the moon, like your home, or how people feel around you, like how comfortable people feel, your children, your mother, your mothering ability, your nurturing ability. All that can cause a lot of jealousy in people. Even pregnancy, you could be one of those people who get pregnant and it's like people are jealous of that fact, like they don't have a womb of their own. You could be pregnant and people around you are rushing to get pregnant as well. You buy a house, they're rushing to buy a house. It's a competition that's clearly seen if you know what you're looking for. And like I said, not even if you know what you're looking for, after a certain amount of time with the 7th house energy, you will see it, because they won't be able to contain it, because it's open enemies. They will let you know, even if they're not rude to your face or anything like that. But if you buy a new car and then your best friend has to rush out and buy a new car after you, or has to get pregnant after you, best believe that person ain't really, such a best friend. They want to steal your moment. They want to steal your shine, or So yeah, 7th house, that one can be a weird one. With the 8th house, this can cause people to get really obsessed and be jealous, really not like you at all, but want to watch every single thing that you do and scrutinize it. Sometimes with the 8th house, what I find is people attribute meanings to the things that you're doing, but it's really just a projection of their own self. They think they know how you work, but really they only know how they work, and they think that you've got hidden meanings and all that kind of stuff to the things that you're doing and things that you say, when really you may not at all. You may do, but you may not at all. Also as well, with the 8th house, why it causes people to stalk when they don't like you. Why it causes people to stalk and keep their dislike for you more quiet is because the 8th house is the things that we hide. So it could be that they feel you're hiding something, yes. But whatever you're hiding, whatever they believe yourself to be hiding, is a trigger for them, because it's probably something that they're hiding, that they don't want other people to know about. So when you do have the 8th house active, they'll be hiding. This could, I even just thought of like Venus in the 8th house, Venus in Scorpio, somebody convinced that you're having an affair. And I'm not saying like the partner, I'm saying somebody outside of your relationship convinced that you're having an affair. Or they could be convinced that you're having an affair with their partner, because they themselves are doing something like that, or have been wanting to do something like that. They may not have even acted on it because it's something that you hide. So if you're hiding something, you're not always going to act on it, even if that's a desire that you have. I said people will be indifferent to you in the 7th house. But the 8th house, this is where they'll really make a big effort to put on a poker face. They will make a strong effort to use a poker face when you're around, because they don't want anybody to detect, or especially not you to detect, the level of interest that they actually have in you. This can cause a lot of jealousy, a lot of deep-rooted jealousy, a lot of deep-rooted resentment. And if anybody knows, especially if you know the level of interest that they actually have in you, that gives you power, and they would hate that. They would hate that so much. This also gives me a lot of times, lovers and friends who are enemies, like complete enemies. With the 7th house, you'll know after a while that that person doesn't really mess with you. With the 8th house, could be that things just get a little bit sour. Maybe you're not really in the same space with that person, but it will come a point when you realize, wow, like, what did I really do to you? Did you really love me? Or, did you really care about me? Because the level of hate you have towards me now suggests that I was actually somebody very prominent in your life at some point. Why would you act like this? That's definitely 8th house energy, and people can be pretty crazy when dealing with the 8th house. So I feel like if you're wondering if somebody is actually super invested or stalking you or spying on you, if they've ever shown you any signs of any kind of just like malice for no real reason, or extreme anger towards you, or and oftentimes it may be that they show this and then they kind of gain composure again, because remember, they don't want you to have power over them. They don't want you to know that you have power over them. You do have power over them, but they don't want you to know about it. So they will find that composure quite quickly. Okay, so maybe Jupiter in the 8th house can attract a lot of people who actually hate you and can't stand you for your religious beliefs, or your free-spirited energy when it comes to certain things, or even your ability to gain money, or being born into money, or something along those lines, your relationship with your father or your relationship with your husband. This can attract a lot of people who, obviously, synastry-wise, something's lining up in your charts, but people who just absolutely can't stand you but can't keep their eyes off you. This person may not even look you in the face when you're in their presence. Some of you, I've just got like a father-in-law that can't stand you. That's weird. I do actually know somebody that had a whole thing about that. They may not look you in the face when they're around you, but you best believe behind closed doors, this person the 10th house is just going to be a place where people can attract a lot of scrutiny, because it's our public persona and our public image. But also this, I keep saying this theme of right and wrong. I feel like even in a pretty open-minded person, because I consider myself to be a pretty open-minded person, and I always try and think of things as just an experience and not judge, and try and lean into forgiveness and that sort of thing. But even me, there are going to be times when I'm like, no, you're just wrong. You're just dead wrong on that. You should have done it like this, or you should have said it like this. So it doesn't necessarily mean that these people who are getting triggered by your 7th, 8th, 10th or 12th house are the worst humans to ever exist. It just means that something is lining up in a way that is making them finding a streak of intolerance, or maybe even seeing you as intolerant or some kind of adversary, just something that they have to really push back against. And it is worth noting that all these houses that I spoke about that attract this jealousy are after the 7th house. With the 10th house, you could find that people just feel you've put yourself in a public eye in whatever way, even if that's just you going to the shop. They're like, why would you wear that? Why would you wear that to the shop? There'll be something that you do that people feel they can critique, and they're actually teaching you. They feel that they're actually teaching you something. Oh, that's also a good point. Jupiter in the 8th house. Some people could be really jealous of the kind of connection that you have with Source, with God, with your pupils, with your teachers. Because again, like I said, it's about the actual house will show you what they're actually jealous of. So 8th houses are deep connections and that sort of thing. Sex, taxes, inheritances, all that kind of stuff. So that's where people can be jealous of you. The reasoning why will kind of the planet will kind of show you the reasoning why and the sign and that sort of thing. So yeah, Saturn, 10th house. Saturn is about lessons. The 10th house is about the lessons we've learned and how we show them. But with it being a point where people feel they can critique you or attack you or speculate, there'll be a lot of speculation as to not necessarily why you've done the things that you've done, but on why you should maybe do it a different way, or on why you haven't learned, or on why you're not as wise or as clever as you seem, or on why you're not in a better position. This gives me, I don't know if it's just because I've got Capricorn in the 4th house, but this is the first thing that comes to mind. Like Moon in the 10th house could be, you're going to a family event and you're doing really well in your career, and then everybody's critiquing you. Well, why don't you do this? Or why don't you add this to your business? Or why don't you go work here? If you'd have worked there, you'd have been much further along by now. If you'd have, it's that kind of energy. So it's just like the aunties are hating, you know, whoever's just hating, that can, you know, be very annoying. That can be so jarring. But yeah, the 10th house, also, it's worth noting with the 10th house that I feel like out of all the hating and jealousy that you're going to get, this is the one that may affect you the least. I feel like you'd have a bit more of a tougher skin, depending on where your 10th house is at. Mine's in Cancer, Jesus. But you'd have developed a little bit more of a tougher shell, a thicker skin when it comes to 10th house matters, because it's the 10th house, you know, it's Saturn's house. So you've learned, and when you have like Saturn lessons, you're unshakable in that place once you've actually learned those lessons. So could be that, you know, years ago they could say that to you and you'd be like thinking, oh, maybe I should have done it that way, or maybe I should have done it this way. And then a couple of years on, you go to the same barbecue, you go to the same gathering, and they're saying that to you, and it's like, well, I didn't, so like what? So yeah, it gives you this more unshakable attitude. So in the area of where people do tend to hate on you or be jealous in the 10th house, if you don't already have a thick skin, you will develop a thick skin. With the 7th house, it may always be known, you know, it may be obvious to see, or even people outside. People that you have relationships with may say, oh, that person seems jealous of you. With the 8th house, it will be something very well hidden, but something you can pick up on. You'll intuitively feel it. And with the 12th house, now this house is some fuckery. When you're dealing with people that hitting this house in a way that they're hating on you or they don't like you, fuckery. Because it's coming like these people want to undo you. They just want to fuck you up, and there's no real reason for it. This is, I'm really your best friend. I'm really your best friend. They don't fuck with you. They hate you. They cannot stand you. They are jealous of you in every way, shape or form. The 8th house projects, the 12th house is on a mad thing. The 12th house don't know right from wrong or truth from falsehood. It's very malicious because there's so much illusion in the 12th house. These people may feel that they're actually right in doing what they're doing or acting the way they're acting, or keeping you as a friend, but secretly they can't stand you. They actually feel validated in that because they're under some kind of an illusion about you, about who you are, and, you know, why you have the things that you have and that kind of thing. So moon in the 12th house, you can get I've got moon in the 12th house, it gives you great intuitive ability, bit all over the place emotionally sometimes, but you can attract people who are jealous of your relationship to your mother. And that moon in the 12th house relationship to your mother, like, people always get, I feel like it gets a really bad rap, like, oh, your mum's terrible, you probably don't get on with your mum, she totally abandoned you. Actually, this correlates with what I was saying about the moon and the 4th house. I don't know if anybody's watching my tarot channels, but I mentioned it briefly there, and I will be doing some recordings on that, of how once you've left your mother's womb, is there ever really enough that she can do to repair the fact that you're not there anymore? Like, she's not carrying you safely in her tummy. That's with all the water sign houses. The 4th house, the 8th house, the 12th house. It's like with 8th house, it can be like cut the apron strings. Mum can be very controlling, and always have a part to play in the child's life. And with the 12th house, it's like, you abandoned me. I told you to go to school. Like, you needed to go to school. Like, you can feel very abandoned sometimes. And sometimes it's real, you know, because it's not always like a complete illusion. Sometimes you may be very disillusioned, be like, my mum was perfect. And really, your mum was on a mad thing, you know. But yeah, you can get but it's a close relationship. That's the point I was trying to make. With all the water houses, it's a close relationship. There's a level of connection and depth between you that your other siblings may not share with your mum in that particular way. Not that they don't have their own close relationship and depth. and it's a lot of things that I felt between you, intuitive understanding, and just like a very deep connection. So people may pick up on that and they can be very jealous, or of like your maternal line altogether. You know, if you get a lot of love from the aunts, from the cousins, from the whatever. I'm saying the aunts because obviously it's the moon, but it could very well be the uncles as well. Or for your home, or for your nurturing ability, for the way you raise your children, or for the fact that you make people feel comfortable, or for your psychic ability. You know, you will get a lot of jealousy, but these people will swear blind that they're not jealous of you. They will try and convince you that they are actually, in fact, your biggest supporters. They are not. And you will pick up on it because it's something you intuitively know. It's not necessarily like with the the 8th house energy where they will stalk you and project onto you. 12th house don't need to stalk you. They're just going to project. They're just going to push that on you anyway. So a 12th house hater may be under a big illusion about who you are and what you believe and why you think the things that you think, or why you've said that. It could be that they believe you hate them, or that you're jealous of them, and they may feel that they're only just defending themselves on a particular day. The next day, it could be that they really just don't like you, don't like anything you stand for. It's rude, it's offensive. Oftentimes as well though, it can be that they feel that they've been victimized in some way, and they need to victimize you to get even. And what I've found, I'm not saying I'm like the strongest person ever with boundaries, but I've had to learn. Somebody said something about people who don't put up boundaries are selfish, because you're just trying to have a good time. Like, you may invite somebody somewhere and they don't want to go, and because they don't know how to put up boundaries, or they're a constant people pleaser, they say yes, they come, they have a horrible time, they're not enjoying it, everybody else is enjoying it, you're trying to make them enjoy it, they're being fake, and now you've got weird vibes with them about, you know, you're clearly not enjoying yourself, but you're saying that you are. Then they will go and complain that you invited them out and they had to go and they had a horrible time, and you was moving weird with them because you didn't believe them when they said that they were having a good time, even though they weren't. Like, just say no. Just say no. Save everybody the trouble. Just say no. It's selfish. It's very selfish, and it's quite narcissistic as well. To believe that everybody's time should be centered around you, or that if you say no, people are going to be so devastated. That's a degree of narcissism, let's be real. So yeah, with the 12th house energy, it can be like that. This person doesn't have boundaries, and they could be a real people pleaser, and because of that they now have anger and resentment towards you, and they feel victimized, and now they're trying to victimize you in some way. These are the kind of people I feel like that will low-key, high-key try and destroy your life, all while smiling in your face and swearing down that they don't hate you. But again, it's the 12th house of hidden enemies. It's not like the 7th house. The 7th house, you will clearly see their actions. It's very passive-aggressive. Hi, girl. I love your shoes. It's that. The 12th house will be like, hi, I love your shoes. Hope you step in dog shit. Like, in their head, they're thinking something awful, or, you know. Yeah, the 12th house is just, I was going to say, like, you may come back and find the heels broken on your shoes, but I low-key feel like that's more 8th house. But that could even be 12th house as well. 8th house and 12th house together, you can attract scary individuals and people who are very fucking weird. Single white female vibes. You can really experience some of that with those kind of energies. You could be getting people who are deeply paranoid but believe they get intuitive hits about you. They could be very jealous of your own intuition or psychic ability. They could be very jealous of your connection to source or your spirituality, and they may pose as a fake spirituality person, and they may be convinced that you're doing the same. Or that their spirituality is real and yours must be fake. So say you spoke to somebody, I feel like I've really experienced this. I'm a 12th house moon. I've told people about certain spiritual experiences I've had, and they're like, oh, I wish that had happened to me, and I really wanted to have an experience, I didn't. And I'll say like, oh, you know, just sort of, you just got to sort of be in the moment, be in humility, and kind of not really have expectations. Like, just be kind of grateful for just anything. Not like anything as in having a spiritual experience. Right now is a spiritual experience. This is fucking spiritual. Like, I'm a spirit in a body. This is an experience. And not really having a great expectation of all this other wild stuff to happen. Sharing those experiences, that with certain people, they did believe me. I do believe they believed me, and I do believe they believed I was of sound mind. But I've had experiences where other people will say maybe something like, oh, you give me spiritual vibes. Maybe they don't know. You give me witch vibes or something like that. I'm not a witch though. And the person will go and say, oh yeah, that's kind of true. She's spiritual. Well, she likes to think she is. Or she's psychic. She likes to think she is. Now, bitch, you just shown, you let it slip there, Miss 12th house hater. Because I can now see that actually you're jealous. You're jealous of the spiritual experiences I've had, that I've told you about. You've openly told me how you wanted to experience that kind of thing yourself, and you haven't been able to. So now you're going to degrade my ability or degrade my experience because you haven't had that experience yourself. Even though you believed it, you know, because it's something you wanted for yourself and you wasn't able to get. So maybe at the time you believed it, maybe she actually doesn't believe me now, because like I said, they can believe that they've been victimized. So maybe she believed me at the time and thought, no, actually, as she's got to know me more and more, actually she must be lying. Why would that happen to her? Like, she's just a normal person like anybody else. She's not perfect. She's not better than anyone. Why would that happen to her and not me? She must be lying. And now you feel the need to victimize me because you believe you've been victimized. But I didn't victimize you. I told you the exact truth of what happened. And you've just taken it upon yourself in that weird 12th house way to start to be a fucking weirdo. They're just super strange individuals. And I feel like as well, these are the kind of people, if you ever really confront them, like, you've been doing this, you've been saying this behind my back. Oh, these are the people that will talk about you behind your back. Heavy. Start rumours about you. They will just, and the rumours may, you know, come on now, if you're going to start a rumour, at least let a little bit of it be true. The rumours may just be so, so random and so just not at all anything to do with anything in your life. It could be that, you know, you did a hit and run and you don't even drive. It could be something so random. And I feel like they will also sort of want to, similar to the 10th house, they'll want to kind of, the 10th house is like they want to sway other people's opinions on you, your image, your public persona. Cool. The 12th house is more they want to curate a version of you. They're just making it up. These ones are very big liars. They just lie, but also when they are going back and doing the talking about you, they will have a lack of boundaries, number one. If somebody you are talking to is talking to you about another person and they're always the victim, there's a 12th house synastry thing going on between them, because they will always play the victim. They'll always be the one who was, you know, downtrodden or victimized by you in some way, shape or form. Like I said, how was me sharing the story of my experience victimizing you as a person? I'm telling you my truth, and I've felt comfortable enough to share that with you, but you've turned that into something sour because you're fucking weird. Like, obviously take everything with a pinch of salt. For some of these you may need a whole tub of salt, you know, but it is what it is. I just wanted to kind of validate people. You are not crazy if you've had horrible experiences with people time and time again, especially if you yourself are making a conscious effort to be a better person, trying to, you know, consider what it could be that you could be doing to trigger these individuals. And is that something you need to change in yourself? Is that something you need to work on? If you're doing all of that kind of stuff and you keep getting the same people in, it's not always just like learning a lesson, even though it could be. It could just definitely be this is how this energy manifests for you sometimes. Again, all those houses have many manifestations of their energy. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, please let me know down below. I will continue to make more astrology content because I absolutely love it, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.